Carolina won the toss. They have deferred. Graham Gano with a 79% touchback rate. That's the best over that period of time that you just saw. Sending it to LeGarrette Blount's direction, but most likely into and through the end zone. And that is the case right here. And so the Pittsburgh Steelers will start from the 20, and here are their starters.
Ben Roethlisberger, Miami Redhawks.
Le'Veon Bell, Michigan State.
Will Johnson, West Virginia.
Antonio Brown, Central Michigan.
Marcus Wheaton, Chandler High School.
Heath Miller, Virginia.
Kelvin Beachum, Southern Methodist University.
Cody Wallace, Texas A&M.
Marquise Pouncey, Lakeland Senior High.
David DeCastro, Stanford. Marcus Gilbert, University of Florida.
And so the Steelers now start with three receivers set to the right. Bell is the running back, and a little swing pass to Antonio Brown. And Brown, their top receiver, for a gain of 5, tackled by Antoine Cason. So Ben Roethlisberger, picked in the first round back in 2004, Steeler record for touchdown passes. Also gets sacked a ton of times, but a little less over the past couple of years and throwing fewer interceptions since Todd Haley came in as the offensive coordinator a couple of seasons back. And you've got a flag. Well, we've got a flag before the snap. Mike Tomlin barking something out toward Ron Torbert, the referee.
Before the timeout was called, illegal substitution by the offense. 12 players in the huddle. It's a 5-yard penalty. Still second down. Pittsburgh is not charged with the timeout. They still have 3 timeouts remaining.
Marcus Wheaton was that 12th guy, so they save a timeout, but it costs them 5, and it'll make it second down and 10 now.
Just not allowed to put 12 guys in that huddle and try and take advantage of what the defense can react to.
Normally a 12-man call is on the defense, and this time this is Bell with a nice hole, and he exploits it and takes it out to the 31-yard line, tackled by Cole Lair. Gain of 11 and a first down.
Watch how slowly Le'Veon Bell goes to help set up these blocks. They're going to come across the formation, and he's just going to take his time like a veteran running back, and not many people can do it. But we were talking to Marquise Pouncey, their outstanding center, and he said, boy, what a difference it makes for offensive linemen to have a little time to make those double teams work.
And Roethlisberger, play action, and it's covered beautifully as A.J. Klein tackles Heath Miller. And let's take a look at that Carolina D.
Charles Johnson, Offensive High School.
Colin Cole, Iowa. Star Local Lele, University of Utah.
Wes Horton, Southern Cal.
A.J. Klein, Iowa State University.
Luke Kuechly, Boston College.
Thomas Davis, D, University of Georgia.
Antoine Cason, University of Arizona.
Roman Harper, Roll Tide.
Thomas Deku, Glen Cove Elementary.
Melvin White, University of Louisiana.
Rebuilt secondary, but a tough front seven as Bell takes it out to the 40-yard line, a little bit short of the first down. It'll be 3rd and 1 for the Steelers.
David Castro right here and Pouncey right here. Watch what the patience does for these guys. They get up into the next level. Klein kind of runs himself out of position, and you see him, he just kind of hops around a little bit and lets those blocks take hold. Much lighter this year than what he was a season ago, and coming out of college is Le'Veon Bell. And I think it's added a dimension to his game.
And now Roethlisberger is going to have to take a timeout. They were trying to make 4 or 5 changes before the 3rd down and short 2, so Ben this time does get the timeout. Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator, of course, much ado made of that when it happened a couple of years ago. Bruce Arians let go, went to Indianapolis, took over for Chuck Pagano, who got sick, became coach of the year, and now, by the way, is doing a pretty good job with the Arizona Cardinals.
He's done all right since he left Pittsburgh. He sure has. But, you know, this is a Pittsburgh offense that really has 2 completely different looks. They can go into a power formation and add some tight ends and add Will Johnson, the fullback, or they can spread you out. And sometimes I wonder if they don't get a little confused themselves as to which look is better for them. But we asked Tomlin about it, and he said no. He goes, we feel like that it's good to have sort of 2 ways to beat you.
And they'll mix in some no huddle tonight as well. But after the timeout here, they set up for a 3rd down and 2. Bell flanking Roethlisberger in the backfield. And he gives it to Bell. Swings to the outside and picks up the 1st down. So Bell getting 3, Kuechly making the tackle. It's another Pittsburgh 1st down on the game's opening drive.
Here's the matchup. Defensive MVP Luke Kuechly, and he's got to try and go catch Le'Veon Bell. But this weight loss has really helped him because now he has that added step of speed to the outside. So can he work inside as well as anybody and as much as anybody? But now it has that extra step getting the edge.
From the 43. Then to the right, and then it's dropped. It is dropped by the fullback, Will Johnson. 2nd down and 10. Ron Rivera played in the Super Bowl with those great 1985 Chicago Bears, part of that unbelievable defense, was an assistant in Chicago, left there, went to San Diego, became the defensive coordinator there, and that led to Jerry Richardson hiring him 4 seasons ago as the head coach here. 2nd and 10. Staying on the ground, this is Blunt, LeGarrette Blunt, who was with New England last year, taking it to the 46-yard line. Klein and Kuechly are in on the tackle, setting up a 3rd and 7 for the Steelers.
A bit of a new grouping there for the Pittsburgh Steelers. LeGarrette Blunt comes in along with fullback Will Johnson and tight end Matt Spaeth. They want to see how Carolina's defense is going to react, but now comes the issue when you play Carolina. Now all the pass rushers get their opportunity at 3rd and 7.
They don't blitz that much. 3 guys with their hands on the ground, and they rush 4, and Roethlisberger protected well, but the pass is batted down. So after a couple of 1st downs, they're stopped here, 4th and 7, and Carolina will get the ball.
I tell you, this K'Wan Short has really been playing well as of lately. Not only getting sacks and pressure on the quarterback, but here getting his hands up. They think he is going to be an outstanding young player.
Brad Wing in his 1st year as the Steelers punter. Will send it down to Philly Brown, but not until they walk off 5 yards for a false start.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense, number 51. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
And so Mike Tomlin will watch his defense come out shortly. Cam Newton putting the helmet on, ready for action. He missed opening day in Tampa. Derek Anderson led them to that win because of a rib injury, but came back last week to beat Detroit here. And Wing's kick is a wobbly one. A fair catch is called for, made at the 20-yard line by Philly Brown. So here comes Cam Newton and the Panther offense in Charlotte on an 80-degree night. Jonathan Stewart is the running back at the 20-yard line. They start with a play fake and good protection and a good gain on 1st down to the #1 draft choice, Kelvin Benjamin, the 6'5" rookie out of Florida State. And that's good for a gain of 18.
6'5" and about 240 pounds. We used to call those guys offensive linemen back when I played. Pretty incredible to see that guy that big. You'll remember when he played for Florida State, he caught the game-winning touchdown with just a few seconds remaining against Auburn to win it all.
Already his 9th reception of the season. He scored 1 touchdown. Now they hand the ball off to Jonathan. No, they don't. They fake it to him and then throw to the right side. Good play fake. Fake everybody out, including me, as Philly Brown makes the catch. He, like Benjamin, is a rookie free agent. Played his college ball at Ohio State.
Cam Newton getting to be a better and better ball handler. Look how long that ball stayed into the gut of Jonathan Stewart, and then pulled it out and was able to complete it to the outside to Philly Brown. They've had some changes at wide receiver tonight due to injury.
And over the offseason as well, Steve Smith no longer a Panther after being here for many years. That's a gain of 9. That's Philly Brown. Let's take a look at this Carolina offense, which is clicking right now.
Cam Newton, Auburn University.
Jonathan Stewart, the University of Oregon.
Mike Tolbert, Douglas County High School.
Kelvin Benjamin, D. Florida State.
Jason Avant, Michigan.
Greg Olson, the U.
Byron Bell, Greenville, Texas.
Amini Silatolu, Midwestern State.
Ryan Khalil, University of Southern California.
Fernando Velasco, Georgia.
Nate Chandler, UCLA.
Velasco, a Steeler last year, took over when Marquise Pouncey got hurt on opening day. Did a pretty good job at center as Jonathan Stewart takes it to the 38-yard line for a first down. So Cam Newton, drafted #1 out of Auburn in 2011, has only missed 1 game. That because of the rib injury. Also had ankle surgery in the offseason. 65 touchdown passes and 28 runs for touchdowns. And on third down, if you're looking for somebody to run the ball, it's normally going to be him.
Yeah, and he, despite the ribs and the ankle and all the different things he's got going on, he has a rib protector on, makes him look like RoboCop out there.
Now from the 38. And they set up a screen to the left side. Jonathan Stewart with blocking, and that's a first down. He takes the ball inside the 25-yard line. Jason Worlds came in and really laid a lick on Newton, a little slow and coming back to the line of scrimmage, with Carolina buzzing right now.
Coming with the blitz here, and Cam Newton has the perfect play called. Lawrence Timmons called on the blitz and it's coming up, and then, oh my gosh, it was Silatolu, I think, that really laid a block out there to spring Jonathan Stewart.
At the 24-yard line, they've run 5 plays, 4 of them through the air. Newton is 4 of 4 for 52 yards. Mike Tolbert is the running back in this set, and Newton is going to take a timeout. He's a little gimpy as he starts to come toward the sideline after that hit, so he needs a breather here halfway through the first quarter. In Charlotte now, Cam Newton had to call a timeout. He got hit by Worlds, went to the turf, came to the sideline, threw a couple of passes. We'll check him out now as he restarts this drive from the 24-yard line, and the ball is handed off to Mike Tolbert, their big back, picks up 2 yards. Tackled by Timmons. Let's go back to the Worlds hit on Newton after he threw the screen pass.
Of course, you know about the left ankle. That's the one that had the surgery, and here comes the hit. Kind of tough to tell from there, but once he got up and limped to the sideline, you knew it got something. A little more blitzing out of Pittsburgh tonight early on than we've seen. I think there's a little level of frustration early.
Second down and 8 from the 22-yard line. And Newton's going to go for 6, and it's incomplete. Avant down there along with Burson. Let's take a look at that Pittsburgh defense.
Cameron Hayward, the Ohio State.
Steve McClendon, Troy University.
Cam Thomas, University of North Carolina.
Jason Worlds, Carter Ramblers.
Ryan Shazier, the Ohio State University.
Lawrence Timmons, Florida State. Jarvis Jones, Georgia. Cortez Allen, the Citadel.
Troy Polamalu, University of Southern California.
Mike Mitchell, Ohio University.
Ike Taylor, Louisiana Lafayette.
Shazier was their #1 draft choice. He's number 50. Played at Ohio State. Third down, 8 now. 4-man rush. On the move, tipped and incomplete. Intended for Benjamin. That's Cortez Allen covering on the play. So the only thing that slowed Carolina down was Newton getting hit hard, having to take the timeout. Now it's 4th and 8.
Here we go. Here's Kelvin Benjamin, the young draft pick. Cortez Allen covering him, and he makes a nice move back to the ball, but just can't hang on to it. And you see a little bit of the Steelers blitz where they're going to have about 7 guys up there, blitz 5 of them, drop the rest of them in coverage. You try to figure out which 5 is coming.
40-yard attempt for Graham Gano. And there are your first points of the game. Coming with 6:40 to go in the opening quarter in Charlotte. Carolina 3, Pittsburgh nothing. Meanwhile, week 3, at least the final game on a Sunday of week 3 tonight in Carolina, as Gano kicks off and has his second touchback. Le'Veon Bell, second year. Interesting thing with him is you break down the numbers, 85% of his runs are between the tackles, highest among active running backs, and well above the league average.
One of those classic 3-down backs. He can block and pass protection. He is an excellent receiver now that he's lost some weight. Very difficult to cover on the outside, and has shown a little speed getting out around the corner now.
League average for a back going between the tackles about 60%. This time he tries to go between the tackles, but the defensive tackles will take care of him right there. That whole defense in the middle for a loss of 3, 2nd and 13.
You want to be patient? Well, here's the reason you don't. You get a little penetration up the field like K'Wan Short does here. Picks off the fullback Will Johnson coming across, and you end up with a loss.
Second and 12, the ball at the 18. Roethlisberger with a little flip, and Bell will cut it back the other way, keeping the play alive. Flags come in, a pair of them, for the moment he gets it to the 28-yard line. And it's going to be on Antonio Brown, so it's going to be against Pittsburgh, taking it back. Referee Ron Torbert's been in the league as a side judge for the last few seasons. His first year as a referee.
Holding. Offense. Number 84. 10-yard penalty. Replay, second down.
What's crazy about it is it was completely on the other side of the field, and then all of a sudden, I think in the last minute, Antonio Brown realized that Le'Veon Bell was coming back across. Maybe a little help for the official by Antoine Cason, but I think it was a good call.
And it sets up a 2nd and 13. And it's dropped, and that's Bell clearly just trying to look around. There's another flag down. Flag down just about at the line of scrimmage.
I think they got him for another hold.
Holding by the offense. Number 53. That penalty is declined. Result of the play. Third down.
That's Marquise Pouncey.
Clearly one of the great matchups in this game. Marquise Pouncey, multiple Pro Bowler against Luke Kuechly, the defensive MVP, and got called on that one. Some of our rodeo friends in Texas might have been proud of that one.
Calf roping. We're down there next week for the Cowboys Saints game on Sunday night. 3rd and 13. And a quick toss, and that's Brown, and he gets swallowed up at the 24-yard line. So Brown cut to the inside, got a couple of initial blocks. Roethlisberger wanted another flag here. So states his case to one of the officials, and the clock will tick down to 5 minutes as the punting unit comes in. Brad Wing with the second punt of the night.
Todd Haley is not going to let Ben Roethlisberger take big shots in those 3rd and long situations.
And Philly Brown's going to let it go. And it will bound out of bounds at the 36-yard line. Newton back to work with Carolina up 3-0 early.
You've seen the bulky padding around Cam Newton's midsection. Well, this is what he wore last week and what he told me he'd wear tonight to protect that fractured rib. It starts with this circumference rib pad that is hard shell on the outside and soft on the inside. It's something he's worn throughout his career, but here's what he's added. These custom molded hard shells on either side. And if you look closely at this 3rd layer, this shirt, it's got this strong bubble-like bubble wrap like technology, and that disperses the force of a hit. And he said putting this whole mix together has been like a science project, Al.
Thank you, Michelle. You can pick up that outfit at your nearby Armani Exchange.
Yeah, Michelle with a nice manicure down there, too.
Right. From the 36 in HD. And Jonathan Stewart will go next to nowhere. In fact, tackled behind the line of scrimmage. You know, John Madden always said if you have 2 injuries, one definitely supersedes the other. So we asked Cam the other day, which is it? Is it the ankle that bothers you more or the ribs? He says, I'm not going to tell you.
You're not going to tell you. No, he wasn't going to help anybody out there. But he said, and it took him a little while to get going in that game last week, the first that he had played. He said in practice, you're like a diamond. You know, nobody can touch you. But in a game, it's just the opposite. Everybody wants to take your head off.
2nd and 11 from the 35-yard line. Good protection off play action, short pass underneath, and good coverage by Timmons on Jonathan Stewart. So, you know, the transition that Chris talked about at the open with the Pittsburgh defense getting a little old and a little slow, and they keep bringing in new guys, and now you got Lawrence Timmons. Of course, you have Polamalu and Taylor who've been there for 12 years, but now this is the guy with the speaker in his helmet and kind of the key to the defense.
Yeah, and he's trying to work with Ryan Shazier, the young draft pick, opposite of him, and he's trying to do basically what other people, Larry Foote and people, did for him, which is teach him this very complicated defense, which Dick LeBeau said really takes you about 3 years. Very rare a new linebacker comes in here and starts as a rookie.
So his folks there grew up in Florence, South Carolina. 3rd down and 11, and the pass is caught on the run, but stopped shy of the first down as Gay comes in to tackle Jason Avant, the longtime former Philadelphia Eagle, and that'll make it 4th down.
Well, so far this game is going very well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Carolina Panthers have not yet been able to get a running game going, so maybe check the box for the Pittsburgh Steelers on that one. And they're being forced to throw the ball, which has to be the goal anytime you play against Carolina.
They can't get the ball in Antonio Brown's hands enough, so he'll run back the punt. Norton sends it toward the sideline, collected at the 17. And all things considered, a decent run back. He really had no room to roam, and brings it back to the 25-yard line. 2:38 left in the quarter, 3-0. With Greg Hardy gone, those are the 3 guys replacing him. Horton on the bottom started. Healy's in there right now, a rookie 2nd-round pick out of Missouri. Addison comes in passing situations. In fact, Addison had a great second half last week, had 2.5 sacks against Detroit,
which matched his season total from a year ago.
From the 25. And a flag is down. And Roethlisberger going deep and adjusting, and his flag is down there as well, is Darius Hayward-Bay. So you have a flag at the line of scrimmage. You got Johnson putting the pressure on that time. And part of the reason he was able to put the pressure on is he came across the line. And the way the Steelers are reacting, they think both fouls are going to be against Carolina. First for offside and the second for pass interference. Crowd now senses that.
There are 2 fouls on the play, both by the defense. Offside by the defense. That penalty is declined. Pass interference. Defense number 21. That penalty is accepted. Spot foul. Automatic first down.
It's Thomas Deku. First year here, formerly with the Falcons.
Remember Darius Hayward-Bay, Al, the guy was drafted 7th overall by the Raiders because of his pure speed. Well, he laid a little bit on him out there. And when that ball was left to the inside, Deku just grabbed him. Big play for the Steelers.
Turns out to be a 42-yard penalty. And now Roethlisberger hands the ball to Bell, and Bell swings to the outside. It's taken out of bounds after a gain of 6 by Melvin White.
Pretty nice job on that play initially by Cody Wallace. May have lost the linebacker a bit. Cody Wallace filling in here for Ramon Foster, who hurt his ankle on Wednesday in practice this week. But Le'Veon Bell just finds a way to work with whoever's in front of him.
2nd and 4. And dancing around, and Bell cuts it back. Nice move. Picks up the first down to the 22-yard line.
Wow, that was some cut there. Little Marcus Allen-like on that one. Just kind of slowly working it. Now, and then zip. Runs right by Thomas Deku, who's having a tough series so far on this one, but I don't know who would have made that tackle. That's one of the things about moving a little more slowly and under control. You can make those kind of cuts.
Great comparison. And we showed you how much he runs inside, and tonight running a lot more outside. He's already carried 7 times for 41 yards. And Ben under pressure. Can't escape. Sacked at the 29-yard line. And there is Addison with those 2.5 last week, coming in pass rush situations and putting him down.
Working against Kelvin Beachum, Mario Addison is a blur. Right now, I know Charles Johnson usually is considered their best pass rusher after Greg Hardy. But when you watch the tape of Mario Addison, you would say, who is their best? Who gives them your best chance for a sack? It's him.
4th-year guy out of Troy, same school that produced DeMarcus Ware. Swings to the outside to Brown, and Brown is out of bounds after a short gain. Ben Wickery covering it.
We like that name, don't we?
We love it. I mean, he used to be the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Now he's playing defensive back.
Oh, there you go. Very good. You know, it is interesting talking to Ben Roethlisberger, though, about Antonio Brown. He says, I know Percy Harvin gets all this attention, but there is nobody better in the National Football League in the open field with the ball than Antonio Brown.
Gain of 4 on that play. 3rd and 12 now from the 24. Crowd roaring as 1. 15 seconds to go in the quarter. Ben under pressure again. Hit from behind as he throws. And again, that was Addison. The pass is incomplete. Arm was coming forward. It'll be 4th down.
This is relatively close now. See if this hand, does it ever go forward on the throw? It's empty going forward, at least initially, and that would be a fumble in that situation. Nothing. Interesting.
The 42-yard attempt here now. Sean Sweezum has made his last 20 attempts. And that's Blackjack, 21. With 7 seconds to go in the opening period in Charlotte. 3-3. So Ron Rivera, he had a chance to challenge the Roethlisberger throw, which could have been ruled a fumble, but it was recovered by Le'Veon Bell. It wouldn't have been a first down, but it would have been enough to make it a shorter field goal. So there's no sense in challenging a play where even if you win the challenge, it's not going to do you any good.
Right.
And Roethlisberger going over things with Haley on the sideline as Sean Sweezum will kick off. Brenson Person is back to receive for Carolina. And he's going to get a chance to run this back from the goal line. This is Philly Brown who is back there with him. And Philly Brown will take it to the 20-yard line and gets tackled there. We have 1 second remaining in the first quarter. Quarter will end here on a Jonathan Stewart 3-yard run. So we played 1 in Carolina with the score 3-3, and Sunday Night Football continues after these messages. Ben Roethlisberger looking on from the Pittsburgh sideline as Cam Newton goes to work on a 2nd down and 7 from his own 24-yard line. And off the play fake, They grab him by the left arm, and down he goes, and there's a flag that comes in. So Newton trying to escape. Cameron Hayward had him by the left arm, and then the flag came in. 2 flags, in fact. One in the offensive backfield and one up at the 31-yard line. So a couple of penalties here. Ron Torbert has had a busy evening to this point.
There are fouls by both teams on the play. Holding. Defense, number 28. Holding. Offense, number 35. Those fouls offset. We'll replay second down.
Well, we talked about Pittsburgh rebuilding its defense, but for years, it's always started with their linebackers, and did again in the draft this year.
Yeah, it really did. Ryan Shazier is a guy that fits in perfectly. You know, typically the defensive line for Pittsburgh is sort of workmanlike, and they have to try and keep everybody off those linebackers. Those linebackers are typically first-round draft picks, and they're supposed to make all kinds of plays. And on some of these great defenses they've had, 5 of the last 10 years, Dick LeBeau had the #1 ranked defense in the NFL, never lower than 13th. And now they're going through a little transition with it.
The great 77-year-old defensive coordinator on 2nd and 7. It's complete to Greg Olsen. His first catch of the night up to the 29-yard line. Take a look at the investments that they've made. World's 2nd-round pick in 10. Shazier, #1 this year. Timmons, #1 in 07. And Jarvis Jones was the #1 pick last year.
I was talking to some of the coaches about these linebackers, and they said, you know, a guy like Shazier, I said, what's the hardest part of that? And he said, really coverage, because you have to know where your help is behind you. You have to understand fully the entire concept of the defense before you can really play fast within it.
56 years in the league for the Hall of Famer LeBeau. Now Newton buys time, throws, and it's a low throw, and it is incomplete. Intended for Olsen there. It'll be 4th and 1.
Nice job there by Jason Worlds. They had this little play going. They were going to try and get it to Burson coming across the formation, but he's going to bang into him before he can get in the flat. And then Cam Newton had to try and force it down the field where he really did not want to go on that 3rd and 1.
Now Brown sets up at his own 20-yard line. Brad Nortman sends it skyward. And it was a blooming kick. And Brown backs up and collects it at the 6-yard line. A flag is thrown, and another one comes down, and he goes out of bounds at the 14. This is a 65-yard punt.
And a really bad penalty on the part of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to be backed up now inside the 10. I think my highest fine as a head coach would be on special teams anytime. Just don't block them. I mean, you've got one of the great open field guys in the game today. Just give him a chance to make them miss.
During the return, illegal block in the back by the return team, number 57. That's half the distance from the spot of the foul. Pittsburgh's ball, 1st down.
Half the distance plus 65 yards. Early 2nd quarter, we're tied in Carolina. Luke Kuechly, #9 overall pick, 1st rounder, played his college ball at Boston College, 2 years in the league, defensive player of the year last year. Lawrence Taylor won it as a rookie and a 2nd-year guy, and the only other guy to win it in his first 2 seasons would be J.J. Watt. So it's some pretty good company for a guy who anchors what was the #2 defense in the league last year, 2nd only to the Seahawks.
Yeah, how about this trifecta? ACC Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year in the NFL, and then Defensive MVP. Not bad.
And a Cincinnati boy.
There you go.
From the 7-yard line. Le'Veon Bell takes it to the 8-yard line. What impresses you the most about Kuechly?
Well, for one, he's a dynamic leader of this team and is still a very good guy. But I think his feet, you know, he gets himself in position, I think, better than any linebacker right now. A lot of times when you're trying to make a tackle, you're going to be off balance. And you'll see right before he gets set to strike, all of a sudden his feet pop right back underneath his shoulder pads, and he can strike, and he does not like people to fall forward. He contorts that ball carrier's body backwards.
2nd and 9. And Ben will dump it off over the middle to Blunt, but there's a flag for a false start, so there's no play here. Another penalty on Pittsburgh. This will be the 5th against them.
Before the ball was snapped, false start. Offense, number 68. It's half the distance to the goal. Still 2nd down.
Kelvin Beachum, your left tackle.
And you know, this is really danger time now for this Pittsburgh Steelers offense. So far, Marcus Gilbert, the right tackle, has done a pretty good job against Charles Johnson out there, but he's gotten a little help, and Gilbert the last couple of games has struggled some. So he is going to have the spotlight on him in this one, but you see Will Johnson standing right beside him. He's going to help on Johnson. No, he's not.
2nd and 13. They give the ball to Blunt. LeGarrette Blunt puts the shoulder down and takes it for a 1st down. So the backup to Bell, tackled by Deku. Blunt played his college ball at Oregon, picked up as a free agent, 15-yard gain.
Well, here's what happens. You try to pass rush too soon, you run yourself right out of the play. Gilbert's just going to run him right by, and then LeGarrette Blunt able to take advantage of what Carolina and what Charles Johnson wanted to do there, which is go get a safety.
Once the guy scored 4 touchdowns for New England in the playoff game in January against New England. Bell is back in now, and they give it to him, and he gets surrounded and tackled for no gain.
You know, it's interesting to see the way they play it in the secondary. Antoine Cason is a guy that was with this coaching staff in San Diego, so he knows what they want to do defensively, and he has really come up with a lot of plays, gotten a lot of turnovers so far this season, and has really become the #1 player back there in this secondary. They don't spend a lot of money back there. They get a lot of free agents and people that are cut by other teams and rely on that pass rush to get home.
And now Ben has to take another timeout, so that's the 2nd they've used here in the first half. That Carolina defense, of course, Ron Rivera, that's his pedigree, but he brought Sean McDermott in from Philadelphia. McDermott was the understudy for many years to the great Jimmy Johnson, the defensive coordinator for the Eagles. And then, well, he fell out of favor in Philadelphia and became in the crosshairs of a lot of the Eagles fans, but he's resurrected his career down here.
And who was his college teammate? Mike Tomlin. How about that? Those 2 guys played together, and William and Mary, and I'm sure Sean's going to be very proud of showing off that 6-pack, which I'm sure he still has today, but those 2 guys have done awfully well. And Mike Tomlin was singing Sean's praises. He said, I have so much respect for him. Of course, the former defensive coordinator himself, Tomlin, with Minnesota. Still good friends, those 2.
2nd and 10. They split Bell out in this set. You got 5 receivers. They throw it to Brown. He cuts to the inside. And then back upfield and gets to the 23-yard line. Gain of 4 yards, 3rd down and 6 now.
You're going to see a lot of these short, quick passes out of Ben Roethlisberger because of the pass rush that Carolina has. But, you know, it's one of the things, of course, Todd Haley brought here. They wanted to start protecting Ben Roethlisberger, who was having trouble making it through the season. But also, some of the greatest plays we ever saw in football came from Ben Roethlisberger under pressure, moving around and making some kind of big play.
3rd down and 6 from the 23-yard line. And Ben airs it out, and making the over-the-shoulder grab is Brown along the sideline. Boy, he is something. Antonio Brown on a 3rd down and 6. Good for 29 yards.
One of the things that Carolina likes to do is do these delayed blitzes. In other words, look like they're going to drop back. But Le'Veon Bell was right there. Ben got the ball out of his hand quickly. And I just can't say enough good things about Antonio Brown. He was 2nd in yards, 2nd in receiving, I think, a season ago. 2-time MVP out of the last 3 years of the Steelers. Great, great player.
Take the Bell, and then it's Miller, the tight end, taking it to the 30-yard line. You can hear the Heath chant because the Steelers travel better than anybody in the league. They and the Green Bay Packers bringing fans in from the hometown.
Yeah, just a quick little run fake, and Kuechly frozen for a minute by that. Right now, the Steelers got it going on, and they've got it spread out. Here comes that other look we talked about. They ran it early. Now they're going to the spread.
Spread and no huddle. From the 31. And they run the play to Wheaton this time. Seems like they ran to Brown, and that's going to pick up 7 yards. Meanwhile, Brown has already caught 5 passes tonight, and this is the 19th consecutive game in which Brown has made at least 5 catches.
Watch Pouncey here go try and get Luke Kuechly. That's his assignment all night. He gets him off his feet, and then Kuechly still kind of comes back and gets in on the play.
So the Steelers pressing the pace, going no huddle. On 2nd down and 3. Big hole. Closes in a hurry, but not until Bell picks up the first down. Kuechly makes the tackle again. The Steelers are looking for their first touchdown in almost 8 quarters.
Yeah, and they have got it going on right now, and I think Ben likes this part of the game plan when he's out there, and I believe this is when he's calling his own plays out there. He has Le'Veon Bell off to the side. Sometimes you get teams spread out, you can start popping a few runs on them.
Just the 9th play of a drive that started back at the 7, and the pass is incomplete. Justin Brown, the intended receiver, but thrown away. White covering on the play, 2nd down.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened that time with Justin Brown, but he never really acted like he thought he was going to get the ball. He just sort of came to a jogging stop, never found the football at all.
Eight and a half left in the half with the game tied at 3. 5 wide. Roethlisberger throws. Miller makes the catch. He gets tackled at the 14-yard line by Godfrey, and that will set up a 3rd down and 5.
Yeah, Steelers always travel well, and you can tell by the heat when it's a play. But one of the things I really like about watching Carolina is the way they play these matchup zones. It may be a zone defense, but you come into Luke Kuechly or Thomas Davis's zone, they're going to be all over you.
Third and 5. Brown on the outside. Can he get the first down? He's going to be stopped a little bit shy. Cason is able to bounce him out of bounds. Roethlisberger telling Tomlin that's how far we have to go. He actually probably has a little bit further, but I'm sure Ben wants to stay in the game.
Yeah, I'm not sure Antonio Brown exactly knew where this first down marker was, because you drop your shoulder the slightest little bit here and you're going to get it. Oh, I see. He tried to come over and look at this throw. Didn't even get his hands on the laces. That's how quickly they're trying to get that ball out.
So it's 4th down and 1. There's Ben. He's going to make it narrower than it really is to try to influence Tomlin's decision here. In the meantime, they're going to call for a measurement.
Some people try to stretch the truth. Ben tries to shrink the truth.
Right. Well, Tomlin will see exactly what he has here. Well, they waved off the measurement.
Ball is short of the line to gain. It's 4th down.
Yeah, I think that what the Steelers want to see is exactly how far do we have to go. And Torbert said, wait a second, you're not even close. Not close enough to measure anyway. So now they bring Blunt into the game. They will line up to go for it on 4th down and a short yard.
Here's that power formation with 2 tight ends and the fullback Will Johnson in.
And Roethlisberger will take it himself over right guard and appears to have picked it up. Yellow line is unofficial, but you already knew that. I've been telling you that for 5-10 years.
Heard that rumor.
Yeah, that's right. He has the first down.
You always say you run to the bubble wherever there's a linebacker stacked there, so he found it. But for Ben Roethlisberger, he took one unbelievable shot last week from Courtney Upshaw that he said he is still feeling out there on the field. Said it felt like somebody hit him with a baseball bat in the chest.
So now it's 1st and goal. Bell is the running back. Roethlisberger throws, and it's caught by Justin Brown, and he'll take the ball to the 4-yard line. So the Pittsburgh Steelers trying to score for the first time since late in the first half against Cleveland on opening day, trying to score a touchdown.
They came out in that first half against Cleveland, and they looked like they were going to be world champions. They just couldn't have played a better half. And since then, they just have been unable to stick the thing in the end zone. They have now started getting them stretched very wide, this Carolina defense, with some of these quick screens. Let's see if they can work it inside with a run.
You would figure Carolina very tough in the red zone, tough all over the field defensively. And Bell cannot get out of the backfield. Flag is down. Star Latulele stopped him. Clock stopped at 6:02. Ford had 5 accepted penalties against Pittsburgh and 1 on Carolina, which was the 42-yard pass interference call.
Illegal motion by the offense. Number 15 is lined up on the line of scrimmage and went in motion. That penalty is declined. It's 3rd down.
They'll take the down. That's Justin Brown, number 15.
Right here is Star Latulele, and Kelvin Beachum just unable to reach him. Too athletic to reach inside. Big play for him and big play for the Steelers now.
So 3rd and goal. Miller sets in the slot. Carolina almost jumps. Roethlisberger throws, and turning around is Wheaton. Look what I found. Wheaton for the touchdown. Melvin White with the coverage.
I don't think Melvin White can believe this. He played this perfectly, pinned him right into the sideline, nowhere to go, and Ben just makes a perfect throw. You can't do coverage better than that. Just couldn't find the football. And a huge catch. Yes, I think he got both feet down. Let's double check it. That toe's down, don't you think?
I think it is, but New York will look at it as they always do.
The ruling on the field is that the runner stepped out of bounds, did not reestablish in bounds before catching the ball.
Whoa.
It's an incomplete pass.
So he's out of bounds before
4th down.
He comes back in to make the catch. That's a killer penalty and makes it 4th down.
Oh, just as he was coming back to the ball, I think that left foot may have stepped on the line.
Oh, it's close.
I can't tell from there.
Well,
the official is right there, but that official has his hands in the air.
Right, he signals touchdown. The call comes from somebody else. And there's the other official who throws his hat as if to indicate he stepped out of bounds before he made the catch. So it's 4th and goal. That's one of those plays, since it's not a scoring play, it's not reviewed. I mean, Tomlin could challenge it, but he's not going to win it. And Sweezum now will have to set up for a field goal. So Pittsburgh still can't find the end zone. This is a 24-yard attempt. And it does give Pittsburgh the lead. But they had the ball for 8 minutes, 16 plays, but have to settle for 3 and lead 6-3. Kickoff is a bouncing ball fielded at the 2 by Philly Brown. And works his way to the 23-yard line with 5.5 remaining in the opening half. Carolina with the ball trailing by 3. Carolina starts this drive from the 23-yard line. And it's going to start with a sack. Wrapping them up is Steve McClendon, the nose tackle, the guy who supplanted Casey Hampton, who did such great work over many years.
This Steve McClendon is a player. I've been watching him now for a few weeks here. He's going against really an all-pro player in Ryan Khalil, and Khalil knew it. He knew that his arms were so long. He'd seen it on tape. He has the ability to fully extend, McClendon does, and then work his way around. That's exactly what happened. He came up with a big sack. Good player, Steve McClendon.
2nd and 17. They rush only 3, 8 back. And so Cam has a lot of time and winds up hitting Benjamin, the #1 draft choice. Well, I tell you, they really cleaned house. Steve Smith gone after so many years. Brandon LaFell went to New England. Ted Ginn went to Arizona. They wiped out the whole receiver room and brought in Benjamin as the #1 pick. They brought in Jericho Cotchery, who's hurt, not playing tonight. Jason Levant in Philadelphia. And of course, as you look at Dave Gettleman, they kept his main guy, Greg Olson, the tight end.
No doubt about it. And Greg Olson has been through quite an ordeal here lately, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. His young son, it's 3rd down and 3. And speaking of Mr. Olson, there he is picking up the 1st down.
Well, first of all, let's talk about Greg Olson, the football player. He's fantastic. You see the C on his chest, and he's a guy that has really been the go-to guy. I think Carolina was extremely lucky. The Bears were going through a transition. They ended up picking him up for a 3rd-round draft pick, and he has clearly been the mainstay while these new receivers learn this offense.
Deep drop and a screen set up here to Jonathan Stewart. And he gets wrestled down at the 39. Mike Mitchell making the stop. So there you have the core 4 from last year, of course, headlined by Steve Smith, who might wind up in Canton someday. That's what they lost. The Steelers, meanwhile, Emmanuel Sanders went to Denver. Cotchery came here. So Ben is saying, hey, wait a minute, I paid the price too, but of course they kept Antonio Brown.
Steve Smith had a day today.
What a game that was. Washington, Philly, 2nd and 5, and that pass is incomplete. One thing about the organization here is they kept in contact with Cam and told him exactly what they had in mind and exactly what they were doing every step of the way.
Yeah, he said it was a leap of faith. Anytime you change out all your receivers, and it wasn't much fun. Jericho Cotchery not playing tonight, but he was Ben Roethlisberger's favorite guy in Pittsburgh. They were best of friends, scored 10 touchdowns, and he was allowed to get away. And Jerry Richardson, an old receiver himself in the National Football League, saw Jim and took him.
Played with Unitas in Baltimore, 3rd down and 5, and that is caught by Benjamin at the midfield stripe, tackled there by Ike Taylor, 1st down.
But what a catch this is. This is just a big 240-pound man taken away from Ike Taylor, who's a pretty big guy himself, but he locked onto that ball. So many of those balls get knocked out as a receiver, but look at the strength of this guy. He is just going to be special. He's missed a few, but he has also made some of the most spectacular catches we've seen this year.
And Cam uncorks one for a gain of about 9. A flag is down. Brenton Burson made the catch.
Yeah, Byron Bell may get caught on this one.
The left tackle.
Out there working on Jarvis Jones. Jones started to get away, and I think he may have got him by the face mask.
Personal foul, face mask, offense, number 77. It's a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, 1st down.
Great move by Jarvis Jones coming here. Starts out, dips back inside, and Bell knew he was beat and just grabbed the face mask. Why not? Your quarterback has bad ribs, not going to give him a free shot. That's a big play in the game.
2:21 left in the half. Clock ticking down now.
Byron Bell had to replace Jordan Gross, who retired, really retired while he was still sort of at the top of his game. I know Carolina really wish they had him back, but they had to take Bell from right tackle, or he was starting to figure that out, over to left tackle.
1st and 25 now. Good protection. And then he slings it to the outside where it's hauled in by Philly Brown. And that takes us to the 2-minute warning. It'll be 2nd down and 9 when play resumes with 1:55 remaining in the half. 6-3 Steelers. Second down and 9. Troy Polamalu doing his thing so spectacularly well for a dozen seasons. And Newton, he's going to take off. and gets tackled as he gets to the sideline, and everybody wants a flag over there. Shazier is there. A couple of Steelers making sure he gets out of bounds.
Interesting, because Shazier at the very end of this play is going to kind of knee him out of bounds, but I don't think he was out, and he clearly wasn't trying to drop a shoulder or is almost trying to get out of the way. I thought that was a very good no call in a tough situation. Shazier can fly. He is about as fast a linebacker as you will see, along with Thomas Davis on the other side for Carolina.
3rd and 7. And that pass is incomplete. It'll be 4th down. Cam Hayward that time goes into Cam Newton, and that's the second time tonight that Newton has come up hobbling.
Cameron Hayward's having a ball game here, and Khalil is looking like he's going to look off to the right. I think he was more worried about Lawrence Timmons, but Timmons was picked up by Trey Turner, and Cam Newton took a shot there from Cameron Hayward.
And Nortman to punt. Norton's last punt was 65 yards in the air. And there's a penalty on the other end of the play. This one is bouncing at the 7, and they can't stop it from going into the end zone. So Ben will take over at the 20 when we come back to Charlotte. From the 20 now. Steelers' last drive was 87 yards, but resulted in only a field goal. And this is Bell for a gain of 3. It's been 8 quarters now since Pittsburgh has scored a touchdown.
Yeah, but I tell you what, that last drive they put together in that spread offense was impressive, wasn't it? Took it off their own 6 or 7 yard line and almost managed to score with it.
And Ben on 2nd down hits Brown. He gets spun to the turf at the 38-yard line. Remember, Pittsburgh had to use 2 timeouts earlier in the half, so they're down to 1, and the clock is down under a minute. From the 38. Roethlisberger. And contact, flag, 2 come in. Brown with Case on right there. And Antonio's already signaled a 1st down.
Great job by Antonio Brown. Kaysen just simply did not get his head around, and if the receiver jumps back through the defender.
Pass interference, defense, number 20, drop foul, automatic 1st down.
See if he ever turns his head around. If not, this is an automatic foul. Contact before the ball got there. As a receiver, it is a great weapon that you have. You always have the ability to stop, go back through the defender, and draw the call every time.
Penalty worth 19 yards, 47 seconds left in the half. Roethlisberger, open man is Wheaton, and Wheaton takes the ball to the 27-yard line. Roethlisberger hustling the team up to the line of scrimmage, trying to save that last time out. And then we'll spike it right there. So it's 2nd down with 33 seconds left in the half.
Well, Ben is getting the ball out of his hand extremely quickly, not giving this Carolina pass rush a chance. And the more that they go no huddle, the more fatigue they get because they can't substitute in and out.
Roethlisberger 13 of 20 now for 119 yards. Brown's caught 7 for 69. They go 5 wide. Pass underneath, caught by Justin Brown. He'll take it to the 25-yard line.
Well, there we go.
Kuechly goes down. Now we got a little action between DeCastro and Kuechly. Flag comes in. That'll stop the clock at 24.
Well, Kuechly with a little extracurricular at the end of that, I think as much as anything to try and keep him from getting up and just keep that clock running. And somebody responded to that.
Right, you got DeCastro trying to get up quickly. Kuechly trying to keep him down, keep the clock moving. And the officials will huddle and assess the penalty, as they always do.
You know, you love it when your guys defend your players, but not at the expense of 15 yards.
After the play was over, dead ball, personal foul, number 66 of the offense. It's a 15-yard penalty. The down counts. It's third down.
First of all, you're going to see Kuechly come up. A little extra right here at the end of the play, try and rip the ball out, and here comes DeCastro, and then Kuechly with an Academy Award.
Yep.
Oh, I see you a little bit there. Now Justin Brown really was the one that pushed Kuechly in the side of his helmet. Kuechly pushed back. So I'd say they were playing football.
Double whammy, personal foul, down counts. It's 3rd and 21 now. Roethlisberger will dump it over the middle. This is Bell. And Bell will get tackled at the 28-yard line. They have one timeout. It's going to be 4th down now. And Tomlin looking at the clock. 14 seconds. 4th down. So he's got to send the field goal unit in.
Sometimes it's just so great having a veteran quarterback. All you wanted to do was get back in field goal range. That penalty took them out. That play put them back in.
And there's your final timeout for Pitt. So the Steelers let the clock run down, took the timeout with 3 seconds to let Carolina have nothing on the other end of this. 45-yard attempt. Sweezum looking for his 23rd consecutive field goal. Bingo. So he has accounted for all 9 points, but the Steelers have now not scored a touchdown in 8.5 quarters. But they go to the locker room with a lead. And Sweezum starts the 3rd quarter by booting it through the end zone.
Talked a little bit about it, but the pass rush has been there tonight, and the Pittsburgh Steelers willing to bring those linebackers on occasion. And one of the things that you want to do against a mobile quarterback is bring at least 5 guys so you don't have those gaps where he can step up and through. And then they have somebody like a Ryan Shazier who can cover Greg Olsen down the field one-on-one. I think Dick LeBeau is going to be very happy with the growth of this defense here tonight.
So they start with Stewart. And Dixon lines up as a fullback, and they give it to Stewart. And Stewart with the best run of the night. They picked up only 10 yards in the first half. He breaks a couple of tackles here, and he picks up 14, and we go to Michelle.
Well, Ron Rivera's got to be happy with that because he told me at halftime, we've got to trust the run. We've got to try and commit to the run. He was upset that they weren't just trusting it. As far as Mike Tomlin, he said, we don't care how Carolina attacks us. He is intent on keeping them one-dimensional. And as far as not being able to get into the end zone in 8 quarters, well, this time around, he credited Carolina's defense, Al.
That's a good point because Carolina's been very tough, and obviously that Steeler defense turning in a masterful job to this point as the ball is handed off. And a flag comes in. That's Jonathan Stewart again after that 14-yard run.
Holding. Offense. Number 77. 10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
And that'll cost them 10 here. Shazier got hurt on that last play. Byron Bell with the penalty.
Haven't heard much from Troy Polamalu so far in this game. Here he comes up and takes out all the blockers and basically allows his teammate Lawrence Timmons to come up and make the play. But it is going to be interesting now if Ryan Shazier has an injury that is going to last throughout this half. So now they end up with Terrence Garvin in there to take his place.
So Shazier for the moment on the sideline. It's first down and 20. And the pass is incomplete, but a flag comes in. Benjamin, the intended receiver, Cortez Allen covering on the play. It was first and 20. And there is Shazier
Before the pass is thrown, illegal contact. Defense, number 28. 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Just a killer when your defense has the other team's offense 1st and 20, a 5-yard penalty, but it's a first down. And here's how Shazier got hurt.
Yeah, friendly fire again. Lawrence Timmons fell right back on top of him. And now Sean Spence in to take over.
Number 51, third-year linebacker from Miami. Swinging to the outside goes Mike Tolbert to the 35-yard line. Tackled there by Lawrence Timmons, and another penalty. Trying to catch up to last week's Chicago-San Francisco game.
No way.
You're right. Throw a flag on every play.
That time Polamalu got lost a little bit inside. You know, it's okay to take a chance every once in a while, but you can't lose containment on the play, and I think that's what happened to them there. But a little different, little edgier looking Carolina running game coming out here in the second half.
Offense, number 47. That's a 10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
That's 2 holding calls. That's Richie Brockel, the fullback, to go along with the Bell penalty. And the offensive coordinator is Mike Shula, of course, son of Don, calling the plays in from upstairs.
Yeah, and he understands full well how this team wins football games. It's his job to not take a lot of chances, don't turn it over, allow his defense to do its thing. But when you start getting into all these penalties and long situations, that's when this offense is going to struggle.
He's looking up at the big screen as it's 1st and 20 for his offense. Pressure put on, but Newton's going to escape and then get taken down by the left ankle by Sean Spence up at the 25-yard line.
Yeah, pretty consistently now. I think you're going to see what we call sort of a read blitz here. Sean Spence is going to come, and then when he sees Tolbert blocking, he'll just continue on. If Tolbert had released into the route there and recognized what it was, I think it would have been up to Spence to turn and run. Cam Newton now maybe starting to get into the game, thinking he's going to have to take this one on his own back and start making some plays.
2nd and 15. It's a 3-man rush this time. That's enough pressure put on. It's incomplete. Brett Kiesel, who was going to leave the team and then was brought back prior to training camp, 13-year veteran defensive end, 3rd and 15.
Working against Nate Chandler, and just watch the power here. Brett Kiesel, I thought a week ago of these defensive linemen, not the linebackers, that he was the most effective rushing the passer. I think he got to Arizona, and it looked like that he might sign out there, and that's when Pittsburgh called and said, nah, come on back. You know, maybe they were playing a little game and hoping they could hold him to week 2, so they have to guarantee contracts. Who knows?
And Bruce Arians knew him well. Meanwhile, the ball comes loose. It's ruled a fumble on the field. Jarvis Jones was able to get it out. And waiting for the signal, it is the Steelers football.
Mike Tomlin knew all it took for his pass rushers to start making plays was to get into some 3rd and longs. There they were, and it was Jarvis Jones came flying right through Byron Bell to make the play, and that's what we're talking about. Carolina is not the kind of team that can sit back in those long yardage situations, and I think that was Brett Kiesel who actually got his hand on the ball. Oh, it came out without anybody touching it. That was bizarre.
That is the first takeaway for the Steelers this season. And it gives them a short field because they'll start at the 17-yard line. It's also the first turnover by the Panthers this year.
Watch Jarvis Jones with his bull rush, and he hits the elbow, and that's what knocks the ball straight up in the air.
Well, you look at all turnovers, so they'll check it out in Gotham. And we'll be back to Charlotte in a minute.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. A fumble recovered by Pittsburgh. First down, Pittsburgh.
Well, they looked at it, but it was very clear here that ball came out. Jason Worlds recovers it. They worked on Jones on the bench. Here's the play again.
Well, Jarvis Jones had a lot of respect for him as a football player. Ryan Khalil was talking about a few different times that he made plays 60 yards down the field after getting blocked, and he's going off to be looked at.
Ball now at the 17, so a big defensive series here for Carolina. A 2-yard gain by Le'Veon Bell takes it to the 15-yard line. A.J. Klein makes the stop.
Yeah, now this is the time that the Pittsburgh Steelers typically put people away. And this feels like a Steelers game, doesn't it? Low scoring in the first half. You kind of pound. You wait for the other team to make a mistake. Your defense makes a big play. Now, typically, the Steelers put you away, at least in the old days.
Trying to get into the end zone here, and it's a 4-yard gain as Bell will take the ball to the 11, and it'll be third down.
Le'Veon Bell just has such great vision and patience. Watch how he just sort of slowly comes in there. All right, what am I going to do? Set it up. And then when he tries to do it, he hits it hard. But watch Luke Kuechly. He said all week in practice, I've been telling myself, slow down, slow down, slow down. Wait on him to make a move first. That's exactly what happened there.
3rd and 4 from the 12. Brown outside, Wheaton in the slot. And Roethlisberger too high for Heath Miller. So once again, the Steelers cannot get the ball into the end zone. A very frustrated Roethlisberger will go off, and Sweezum will come in to try to make it 12-3.
He had him. Marcus Wheaton is open. He's going to come right in here. Comes right underneath Justin Brown. That's an easy first down, maybe a touchdown. Made the decision to go the other way and then get it. Big stand there by Carolina.
Squeeze him now for a 30-yard attempt. Now, well, who came across first? Because it was 4th and 4. If Carolina came across the line, Josh Norman was one of the guys who came across. Was he induced or not is the question. It would be a first down if it's against Carolina.
Encroachment. Defense. Number 96. Jumped in the neutral zone and made contact. That's a 5-yard penalty. Results in a first down.
Wes Horton came across. Norman followed him, and it's first down and goal.
See if we can find it right there and there. No movement prior to, and boy, oh boy, your defense makes a stand and your special teams give it away. Holy cow.
The ball spotted now at the 7-yard line. First and goal. Bell is the running back. And Roethlisberger surveys, pump fakes, rolls out, throws back of the end zone, touchdown, Antonio Brown. Roethlisberger, as he's done so often for so many years, extends the play, and then Brown is just magnificent.
How does Ben hold on to this ball with this pump fake? I mean, he must have the biggest hand in the world. Watch the pump fake. Everybody, our camera even moves with the ball. Comes back around, lobs one in the back corner, absolutely perfectly like he did in the Super Bowl. Holy smokes, what a play by Ben Roethlisberger. Wow.
Scoring plays get reviewed. They check it out. Huge mistake by Horton. Touchdown is good. Squeeze him now for the extra point. And 4 minutes into the third, that long drought finally over for Pittsburgh. They get a touchdown and lead 16-3 in Carolina. There is the man who encroached, turning what would have been a likely 3 points into 7 points. Pittsburgh now up 16-3. And Sweezum will send this one through the end zone. Back to the TD.
I'm still shaking my head over this one. This is as good a play as you'll see. Watch the pump fake first of all. You hold on to that ball and then pulls it back down, escapes. Ben being Ben is what we're going to call it. Now watch his sidearm flip. Sidearm flip lob to the back corner. Kaysen in perfect position. Gets it in over the top. Nice catch by Antonio Brown. Just a fantastic quarterback play by Ben Roethlisberger. It's really something. A little sidearm up over. Like a power lob in there to LeBron James.
After a double pump. And this is Philly Brown. And let's check in with Michelle.
Well, not good news for Pittsburgh's linebacking core. Rookie Ryan Shazier is out with a right knee injury. Head orthopedic surgeon Jim Bradley gave him a full knee evaluation, testing his ACL, MCL, PCL. Compared it to his left knee right now, he is out. Meanwhile, Jarvis Jones went to the locker room for a right wrist evaluation and is questionable.
All right, thank you, Michelle. That means Sean Spence and Arthur Mose take those 2 spots. And the pass caught at the 32-yard line by Philly Brown. And that will move the change.
I'll tell you, we were watching practice the other day, and I was really impressed with this Philly Brown. And I was talking to Mike Shula about him a little bit, and he said, hey, this guy can run routes. He catches the ball well. We just have to give him a chance. And tonight, because of the injury to Jericho Cotchery, he's getting that chance, and he's playing well.
Rookie free agent, played at Ohio State. And Newton throws, and the catch is made at the 40-yard line, and Benjamin will gain 8 yards. And Ike Taylor is hurt, so Taylor writhing in pain. A long-time cornerback. 12 years in the league, and he is down with an injury timeout. Well, Ike Taylor is down, the 12-year cornerback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. A little friendly fire there as he was making the tackle on Benjamin, and Timmons came in, and they will have to take him off, and we'll take another look at the play.
There's Ike Taylor, and then you're going to get this action coming from Lawrence Timmons, and we won't show you the net result of it, but believe me, you don't want to see it.
Well, the sad irony here, because Taylor and Peanut Tillman played together in college at Louisiana Lafayette a dozen years ago, and Peanut's season ended on Sunday Night Football last week in Santa Clara against the 49ers, and now his college mate Ike Taylor, who's done such great work since he was drafted in the 4th round in 2003, will be taken back to the locker room. A little bus on the head from Mike Tomlin.
Well respected. He and Troy Polamalu have been together a long time in that Steelers secondary, and if Ike Taylor caught the football a little bit better than what he does, he probably would have had multiple Pro Bowls. Very good cover guy. Never seemed to quite hang on sometimes, but he is going to be greatly missed in that secondary.
So Taylor back. William Gay is their nickel back, so he now comes in and he'll play the role of the 4th defensive back, so he's already in the game. It's 2nd down and 1 for Carolina. Polamalu on a run blitz and going through the middle, and they really got that running game going here in the 3rd quarter as Mike Mitchell makes the tackle on Jonathan Stewart. And Stewart gets up a little slowly. Remember, D'Angelo Williams is hurt, so Stewart's their primary back with Mike Tolbert backing him up.
Yeah, they activated Darren Reeves, and they are incredibly thin, which is an amazing story. There's D'Angelo Williams for a team that's always been thought of as having too many running backs. I guess Mike Tolbert now becomes the go-to guy.
Stewart back on the bench, threw his helmet down, bent over on the sideline. Give it to Tolbert. And Tolbert, more of a fullback than a running back, takes it to the 48-yard line where Spence makes the stop.
Little unbalanced offensive line over here, and Tolbert decides to run it back over to this side with his fullback in there, Richie Brockle. But this is becoming an issue, maybe less so in this game, because even though they're a running football team, they're kind of getting to the point now they're going to have to open it up a bit.
Well, there's Stewart, who's missed a lot of games in the last couple of years with injuries. So the agony on his face as Cam now retreats. Only a three-man rush, and into tight coverage, a flag goes down. Intended for Olsen. Timmons, they're covering on the play.
Before the pass was thrown, illegal contact. Defense, number 28. It's a 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Cortez Allen.
Yeah. Working on Kelvin Benjamin, the rookie here. Remember this year, they're going to call it tight just past the 5-yard marker, but it definitely was. Here's Jonathan Stewart. Yep. You can see that leg roll back behind him.
So Stewart out. That's 8 penalties now on Pittsburgh for 56 total yards. And Newton will sling it, and it is pulled in. What a catch by Benjamin. Tackled there by Cortez Allen.
And that's exactly why they got Kelvin Benjamin. They said when Cam Newton when he misses, he typically misses high. And when you get a guy that size that can go up and make sure that those balls don't get tipped and go into the secondary, but to miss that ball, get it, and then get a knee down, pretty fantastic.
6'5" is Benjamin. Tolbert. What a difference. I mean, Steve Smith was what, 5'9"?
Yeah.
It's his primary receiver. Now he's got a guy 6'5".
Yeah, and they've become good buddies too, Kelvin Benjamin and Cam Newton. And said Kelvin Benjamin couldn't believe that the NFL wouldn't let him have a single-digit number when he came in here, and he was all upset. And he said, "Oh, wait a minute, what number did you want?" He said, "Number 1. That's what I wanted, number 1." He said, "You know what number your quarterback has? You weren't getting that one anyway."
3rd and 4. Not even with your bonus money. And that is caught. Passed right in there to Philly Brown, making the catch, tackled by Spence, and that's a first down.
Nice job by offensive coordinator Mike Shula, starting to go to work now on the replacement out here. Antoine Blake one-on-one, and Philly Brown continues to make nice catches.
That's 6 catches for Brown, 5 for Benjamin, so 11 grabs by the 2 rookies tonight. Cam to the end zone, and it's incomplete. Kelvin Benjamin is there. Antoine Blake covering on the play. Picked him up from Jacksonville in the offseason.
Right back to the same spot again, and looked like Kelvin Benjamin just mistimed this jump. Got there and really just didn't get his feet underneath him to jump, or this would have been a relatively easy catch for him. They come right back to it.
Meanwhile, Jonathan Stewart goes to the locker room. Benjamin comes out for the moment. Burson comes in. So right now, Newton playing with a lot of spare parts. And well, some miscommunication there, because you've got Moats putting the pressure on. Of course, the Steeler defense is also playing with some spare parts. Notable injuries tonight. Shazier out with a knee injury. Jones, another linebacker. We just saw Ike Taylor in an air cast going back to the locker room. So count on all 3 of those guys being out of the game. Dick LeBeau doing his mixing and matching, as he's done for so many years.
See if they go back to it. Over on the top of your screen, Kelvin Benjamin against Antoine Blake again.
And Newton looks the other way, and the pass is too high. Intended for Jason Avant, then he had Olsen in the same territory behind him, and it's 4th and 10. And Graham Gano will come in to try to make it a 10-point game.
Would have been a first down, but again, Cam Newton missing high, and that has been the issue. Who knows? There's Greg Olsen in behind it.
Here's a 40-yard attempt for Graham Gano. And his second field goal of the night makes it a 10-point game with the Steelers up 16-6 in the third quarter. Pittsburgh leading 16-6. Steelers trying to go to 2-1. Carolina 2-0 coming in. And Roethlisberger able to guide them off a short field to the end zone, ready to go to work again. And off the crossbar to the 20. Roethlisberger, of course, it all changed when Bruce Arians left as the offensive coordinator. Haley came in. He wanted to protect them more. Passes within 10 yards from the line of scrimmage, 7 through 11, second lowest, and then per interception, 1 per 46. Since Haley came in, he's getting sacked fewer times, so fewer sacks, fewer interceptions, shorter passes. And last year was only the second time in his career that he started all 16 games. The other year was 08 when they wound up winning the Super Bowl against Arizona. They start with Blunt in the backfield, and the pass out in the flat to the fullback, Will Johnson, for a short gain, and he flagged down.
Pass interference, offense, number 89, 10-yard penalty, replay first down.
That's the backup tight end, Matt Spaeth.
Completely unnecessary pick. Right here, just a little nudge, but the ball is way out in the flat. Well, that's the break Carolina's defense needs, maybe, because now they get a chance to do a little pass rushing. Last time they were backed up, started it with a run to try to get out of the hole.
1st and 20 from the 10. It's Brown in motion. Fake to him. Swing at the Bell, and he gets clobbered at the 7-yard line. Thomas Davis, he of the 3 reconstructive knee surgeries, right there to pound him.
Isn't that amazing when you think about a guy having 3 knee surgeries on the same knee and come back and play at this level? He is sort of the Lance Briggs, if you will, to Luke Kuechly's Brian Urlacher. Play a lot of the same stuff. Of course, Rivera was there in Chicago with those guys, and they've been working hard on some of that Tampa 2 stuff they run there.
He's Pippen to Jordan, right?
That's a better example. Look out.
Goes Bell. Le'Veon Bell into Carolina territory for a huge gain inside the 50 before Deku saves the touchdown. So it was a 1st and 20, and that's an 81-yard run.
Watch these 2 guys right here with the double team block, driving them straight back in. Kuechly ends up on the wrong side of that double team, and when you get that kind of push off a double team block, the linebacker has to pick one side or the other. Le'Veon Bell with that patience read it perfectly, and off to the races. Great double team block right there by David DeCastro and Marcus Gilbert.
So now at the 11, they give it to Blunt. And he works his way to the 7-yard line.
So the second time now, this great Carolina Panthers defense has had the Steelers backed up in long yardage situations, and they let them off the hook both times. That time with a masterful double team block and a big run by Le'Veon Bell.
So Bell had one 100-yard game last season, missed the first 3 games last year with a foot injury. But he is their ace back, and they hope he'll be that man for the next several years. Blunt still in there on 2nd down and 7. Quick toss, Brown. And Antonio will take the ball to the 1-yard line. They can, as you can see, get a first down without a touchdown, and he may just have done that.
This a better job right here by Antonio Brown. Remember earlier I said he should have put that shoulder down? Watch this time. Smells that goal line. Almost gets there. Nice job by Ben recognizing the coverage out there and just get it to his playmaker, Antonio Brown.
And they have a first down, so 1st and goal with 3.5 to go in the quarter from the 1.
This is when you love LeGarrette Blount and his size in the ball game.
And there's the fullback Johnson in there with him. They fake it to him. And then the pass is caught. No, it's dropped. A flag is thrown. Michael Palmer would be the number 3 tight end, had it right there.
And worse, he's going to end up with an offensive pass interference. So instead of just jamming it in from the 1-yard line.
Pass interference, offense.
Now you're backed up.
10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
He pushed off. Tomlin can only shake his head.
That little extension of the arm right there against Charles Godfrey. Usually you can get away with it if you, the ball was tipped. But usually you can get away with that if you just push with an elbow, you extend the hand, you're going to get it called.
So 1st and goal from the 1 becomes 1st and goal from the 11. And Bell dances to the 7-yard line. 2nd down, goal.
Roman Harper comes up and makes the tackle on that one. A couple of veteran guys. Roman Harper are cut by the Saints. Thomas Deku cut by the Atlanta Falcons, despite the fact that Harper at one time had 7 sacks during a year. Deku made it to the Pro Bowl. And they both land here, and they're happy about it.
Roethlisberger throws, touchdown. Boy, I tell you what, you lead with that much time, Antonio Brown is going to get free, but there's a flag down at the 1-yard line in the middle of the field at the 1.
Holding. Defense, number 59. The penalty is declined. Result of the play, touchdown.
That is Kuechly. 10 catches, 2 touchdowns for Brown.
Let's just watch the big guys up here. This has been a masterful performance so far. Marcus Gilbert, the right tackle, who has been under fire this week. He's had a pretty rough go of it for 2 weeks, but it is the protection alone that made this play. Antonio Brown had all day to work across, and Ben Roethlisberger is getting it done.
And squeeze him for the point after. So both of Brown's touchdowns have been 7-yard receptions, and the Steelers lead it 23-6. Bank of America Stadium, hard by downtown Charlotte. But right now pretty quiet because the Steelers have taken command. And Carolina will start its next drive from the 20-yard line.
Been talking all night about this matchup. Le'Veon Bell, Luke Kuechly. Anytime you can get up on the 2nd level. Here's Marquise Pouncey getting it done. Le'Veon Bell allowing it to happen, and then the big double team. Kuechly has no choice. He has to pick a side. Le'Veon Bell sets up the blocks and executes. And then after losing a little weight, he has enough speed to nearly take that one the distance.
That's the longest run by a Pittsburgh Steeler in 44 years. From the 20-yard line. Newton throwing. It's Olsen making the catch. Gain of 13. Back to Bell, and here's your quiz. Well, there it is. There's the answer for you at the bottom. Frenchie Fuqua, longest Steelers run in 1970, and it held up 85 yards. Longest run since then.
Yeah, I was going to say Frenchie.
Oh, sure you were. Right. First and 10 at the 33. And Newton gets away, throws, caught by the rookie Benjamin to the 50-yard line. Tackled by Arthur Moats, first down.
Boy, that's a good sign for Carolina that these two are starting to develop a little chemistry. Watch this little move by Benjamin up the field, but then Cam is going to just flip it over the top. Nice little touch there. Get it to the big guy. Good drive starter.
A little over a minute to play in the third quarter. And pass is a short one. Gain of a couple. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, Jonathan Stewart is officially questionable with a right knee contusion. You can see him getting worked on by the athletic training staff. He had gone to the locker room, came back, did some agility drills with the athletic trainers, but for the moment, still officially questionable, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Very frustrating last couple of seasons for Stewart, who spent a lot of time on the sideline on the stationary bike, and with D'Angelo Williams hurt, gets the opportunity the last couple of weeks, and now he's on the shelf again. Final half minute of the quarter. 2nd and 7. And Cam's going to go down. And that's Arthur Moats, who came in, of course, when Jarvis Jones got hurt, and Moats gets the sack.
Boy, Arthur Moats looks like a pass rusher on that one, didn't he? Came over from the Buffalo Bills. He looked like he was shot out of a cannon on that one. Beautifully done, working against one of the better ones, Mini Silatolu up front.
And that's the end of the third. Pittsburgh leading 23-6, and Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages. With Pittsburgh trying to go to 2-1, Carolina trying to avoid its first loss, but a big hill to climb here. And they start with a 3rd and 15 from their own 46-yard line. Newton, a lot of time, but the secondary does its work, and then he gets it off to Mike Tolbert, but he's going to be short of the first down at the 41-yard line, tackled there by Cortez Allen.
Yeah, Riverboat Ron may decide.
Yeah, I think
it's time here.
3-possession game, why not?
Let's go back to the sack here. In case you were wondering, there are no horse collar fouls when the quarterback is in the pocket. Just wanted to make sure you had seen that in case you had a question.
4th and 2, you almost have to go for it. It's early in the 4th, but it's a 3-possession game. The ball is on the plus side of the 50 at the 42-yard line. And Newton tries to convert, and he is able to, because the catch is made by Benjamin. Forward progress, that's in the first down. Stopped there by Allen.
More and more and more you're starting to see in the biggest of situations, it is the rookie Kelvin Benjamin who is getting the football. Just think Cam Newton has a lot of trust in that big body to get rebound position and be able to fight off the defenders.
7 catches for him, 7 for the other rookie, Philly Brown. Blitz coming. Gets it away, caught by Olsen down the sideline. He goes into the end zone. Greg Olsen. Touchdown, Panthers.
There aren't many tight ends in the NFL that can match up against a corner like Cortez Allen one-on-one. Not only win the route, but then take it the distance for a touchdown. Nice week there for a young man that's had a difficult one. son in the hospital, 4 surgeries, and for Greg Olsen, somehow he's been able to maintain his focus throughout. Quite a young man.
So trying to make it a 10-point game is Gano. Newton's history, he's been better against the blitz than against the 4-man rush, and he faced the blitz that time. And the Steelers get burned as Carolina gets its first touchdown of the night, and the extra point is good with 13:28. So a touchdown on a 4th and 2 makes it 23-13 Steelers. Let's go to Michelle.
Well, Greg Olsen told me it's been a difficult month for him and his wife, Kara. Their almost 2-year-old son, TJ, who was born with a complex heart defect, had his 3rd open heart surgery about a month ago, and after complications had to undergo a 4th surgery 10 days ago to have a pacemaker installed. But after almost 4 weeks in the hospital, TJ went home last night, which is a sign things are improving, Al.
Boy, how great is that? What a picture that is.
He looks just like
picture.
Greg.
Yeah.
Holy cow. What an adorable child. God bless him.
God bless his
home, and we're so excited to have him home.
And Olsen's touchdown has put Carolina back in the game as Le'Veon Bell goes next to nowhere.
Well, we talked about some of the different styles of this offense with Ben Roethlisberger. And tonight, because of the pass rush, a lot of these short, quick releases by Ben Roethlisberger. Get it out of his hand. Don't let him take sacks. Don't take chances on him getting injured. And you can see about as quickly as he could catch it, he was throwing it. Sometimes didn't even get the laces when he was throwing it. And then there's a few of those other plays tonight that the old Ben being Ben plays that have been pretty good too.
You can't believe Ben is completely dink and dunk, right?
No way.
Little flip. Bell again takes it to the 24-yard line.
All right, so there's one style of Ben, and here's Ben 2.0. Our poor Tracer could barely catch up with him. I've never seen it turn a different color. Pump fake, scramble around, sidearm, lob to the back corner. As soon as he sees Antoine Cason come up, over the top, perfectly done.
2 touchdowns to Antonio Brown tonight, 3rd and 6. Crowd back into it right now. And Roethlisberger throws, and that's caught, but it's not going to be a first down. Shy of the first down and getting bounced around. The bumper car is weak. Stopped by Benet Wickery.
I guarantee you, Ron Rivera is screaming, get away. Do not give up another cheap penalty for a first down here, guys.
Well, that's about the perfect scenario right now. Exactly what Carolina needed, a 3-possession game. They go for it on 4th and 2, get a touchdown. Follow that up with a 3 and out for Pittsburgh. And Brad Wing now to send it down to Philly Brown. Good deep kick. 58 yards dropped by Philly Brown. Then he loses it again. And it's loose in the end zone, and the Steelers are there, and the Steelers are going to wind up with a touchdown. Shamarko Thomas was able to create the fumble, and the ball winds up in the end zone, and the Carolina Panthers can't believe it. Robert Goldman is going to wind up with the football in the end zone.
Shamarko Thomas, one of the exciting young players, not very big. Comes up with a huge play there, and then I think it was Robert Golden who was actually knocked down, who had to get up and eventually recover it. But boy, Philly Brown, what a double mistake that was. Right when it seemed like the momentum had finally turned, getting the ball back, and what a mess. Boy, the Carolina Panthers, a team that usually
recovered in the end zone by a kicking team for a touchdown.
See, the key is if it had been muffed, you can't return those. But when he picked it up, he's a ball carrier at that point, and then it's a fumble.
Absolutely. 59-yard punt. So it was a great punt by Wing. And then a killer with 11 minutes to go.
Carolina Panthers have simply self-destructed tonight with penalties and plays like that.
And that was a monster. That play, you had Le'Veon Bell's 81-yard run after they had them backed up deep. And right now, Pittsburgh very much in command again, 30-13. There's Ike Taylor. Arm in a cast, or so it happened to him. Stalwart cornerback for years. And we hope not done for the year, but it does not look very good. Philly Brown downing this one in the end zone with 11 minutes to go in the 17-point game. Lots of Charlottes. Tonight we're in the North Carolina version as Newton gets whacked as he throws. A flag goes down. That was Jason Worrells who popped him, and he gets up very gimpy.
You cannot intentionally go to the knees of a quarterback.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 93, forcible contact to the knee area of the quarterback. It's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
Apology notwithstanding.
Jason Worrells slips a little bit, looping all the way around, and just as he's turning the corner, slips. I don't think he intentionally did this. Kind of slipped and then just lunged into Cam Newton, who's very lucky that he had both feet off the ground on that player. That could have been major, but Jason Worrells telling him, listen, I did not do that on purpose.
Apology accepted. The ball is at the 35-yard line. With 10:54 left in the fourth. And to the outside for a very short gain to Jason Avant. Covered there by Cortez Allen. Been a busy man tonight. Joey Porter there sending in the signals. The longtime linebacker for Pittsburgh. A lot of fun to watch him play. Got into coaching, was at Colorado State, and Tomlin brings him in to help with the linebackers.
Yeah, a lot of young players over there, inside and outside on this team.
And the pass is too high. Intended for Philly Brown. That'll make it 3rd down and 6.
And Cam keeps hopping around on that ankle. He is clearly uncomfortable. Trying to hang in there because, well, Derek Anderson already won one game for him earlier this season, so I guess it's a possibility, but I don't think he even got hit or maybe stepped on or something at the end of that play.
Martin came up slightly hurt on the first series of the game and had to take a timeout back in the first quarter. Talked about the surgery he had in the offseason. But hanging in there on a 3rd down and 6 here. Under pressure, he gets clobbered again, and the pass is incomplete. That time Cameron Hayward bangs him to the turf. Long night for Cam, 4th down.
Cameron Hayward's having a night tonight, this time against Trey Turner right here, working against Turner here. And he just does a complete bull rush right over the top of Turner, who's still trying to pick it up, and Joey Porter. Be careful, Joey. These guys are getting bigger. Oh, no.
Joey and his dotage. Brown is back underneath the punt, but he's going to let it bounce. And it takes a good bounce for Carolina and is down to the 2-yard line with 10:09 remaining in the fourth. 30-13 Steelers. Le'Veon Bell with a carry here. You know, Chris, you look at the Pittsburgh schedule. They win this game tonight. All of a sudden, 2-1. Next week, Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh. Then at Jacksonville. at Cleveland, Houston, Indy, and Baltimore all at home. I mean, the coaches are going to say, hey, look, every week's a different week, but that's pretty good for them.
It's pretty good, especially because they're a team that is trying to develop, and I would say defensively tonight, they took a big jump out there. But also, first time really this offensive line has played together as a group, and Le'Veon Bell's still young, so whatever they are right now, by the time they get finished with that little stretch, they're going to be tough to handle. But that division is going to be really tough this year. The Bengals now the only undefeated team in the AFC. Baltimore Ravens with a big comeback and a win in Cleveland, and Cleveland looks really tough this year. Already a win against the New Orleans Saints.
Hung in there until the end, so pretty easy for Pittsburgh. Carolina, a whole other thing. They go to Baltimore next week. Chicago then comes here. And then Cincinnati, they go to Green Bay. Then Seattle comes in. And New Orleans. Not quite easy pickings. 3rd and 6 from the 6-yard line. As Roethlisberger throws, and it's going to take some more time off the clock as Marcus Wheaton picks up the first down. Melvin White makes the tackle, and we have 8.5 to play.
I tell you, I'm just so impressed with Todd Haley in that situation. You've got a huge lead, back up. About the only way you can lose this game is to throw a pick six. And if you're going to throw a pick six, that's the kind of pass that you throw it on. And they just don't care. Ben's hot tonight. Just let him rip it.
Ben says, I've been to this rodeo before.
Yeah, who knows? And this little package has been a good one, too. This 2 tight end, extra fullback package with LeGarrette Blount, and I just put the kiss of death on that.
Yeah, Blount gets blunted right there for a loss of 1 to the 11-yard line. Luke Kuechly making the stop.
Well, when Luke Kuechly sees something, he's going to go get it. This little in a phone booth kind of play is a little bit of his specialty. He got LeGarrette Blount before he got started.
Loss of 3 on the play, halfway through the quarter. 2nd and 13.
White 80. White set.
And Ben gunning it, and it is Miller. There's a flag thrown as he makes the catch. He's able to wrestle it away from the defender. Kuechly was back there covering on the play. Flag down at the 33-yard line.
Before the pass was thrown, illegal contact. Defense, number 23. That penalty is declined. Result of the play, first down.
Result of the play is a 30-yard gain penalty on White.
I don't think Kuechly could believe he didn't have an interception on this play. He was perfectly situated, undercut the throw, but it was just so good by Ben Roethlisberger. He got it in there anyway. He's going to undercut this thing in great position, and that ball is thrown just slightly behind. He might end up with a pick six himself on that one.
White 80. White set.
And back to the ground and back to chewing up the clock. And Blount will pick up the first down and a lot more. LeGarrette Blount out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. Another huge run for the Steelers. We had the 81-yarder by Bell, and this one is good for 51 yards.
Yeah, Heath Miller in the backfield in this 2 tight end extra fullback set here. Stayed on this block just long enough. See if we can see him coming over right in here. Stayed on it, and LeGarrette Blount, like Mariano Rivera, one of the great closers. This is a guy, when you come in the fourth quarter with him, good luck.
Injury timeout. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, 127 yards on the ground in their opener, then 99 against Baltimore, but they trailed early and lost that game 10 days ago. And then tonight, 215 yards. Of course, when you have an 81-yard run and a 50-yard run, you will average about 8.3 per carry.
This is by far the best this offensive line has played together as well.
Well, Thomas Davis was the injured Panther. He's back on the sideline right now, the linebacker. It's 1st and goal. And the handoff. Le'Veon Bell to the 8-yard line.
Tail end of that run by LeGarrette Blount. Thomas Davis right there. Going to grab the back of that hamstring, and that is not a good sign. There aren't many things that have gone right tonight for the Carolina Panthers.
Mike Munchak coming over to coach the offensive line. Not long ago, the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. You've got Haley was the head coach in Kansas City. LeBeau was the head coach in Cincinnati. Tomlin and Munchak, 4 guys with head coaching experience on the staff. Blount is back in there. Big hole, and LeGarrette Blount will not be taken down. Touchdown. Will Johnson, the fullback, providing the escort.
Oh, man, did they find a grouping here. This has been dynamic all night long. This big package. Watch right there. Will Johnson is going to come around and make the final block. And then LeGarrette Blount. Jeez. Takes Thomas Decoux right in the end zone with him. Good luck. Remember that stretch he had in the playoffs? I think it was against Indianapolis, a huge game. And
4 touchdowns.
Yeah. Week before, just about as good.
Squeeze him for the point after. 5:38 left in the 4th. And the Pittsburgh Steelers will have a fun ride home. Only about an hour flight back to Pittsburgh, up 37-13.
Now you have to remember that this is one of the best defenses. Finished number 2 overall a season ago, only to Seattle, and it has been power football. Pittsburgh Steeler power football tonight that has just dominated. I thought this group, the offensive line, remember Marquise Pouncey and David DeCastro both sort of were injured for a full year each, but never really played together. Marcus Gilbert came in, a lot of questions about him tonight in his pass protection. Had a big-time problem with Elvis Dumervil in that last game. Cody Wallace stepping in for an injured Ramon Foster. Kelvin Beachum out there at left tackle. But this is a group tonight that has dominated the football game against one of the best defensive front sevens that there is.
And that happy group on the bench right there with Pouncey in the middle. And the Pittsburgh Steelers had that 8.5-quarter drought, which ended with an exclamation point tonight.
This is the way they looked against the Cleveland Browns in the first half of the opener.
Squeezing to kick off. Of course, we live in the age of the selfie, but there's no penalty for simulating a selfie in the end zone, I guess, these days. Penalty for everything else. Meanwhile, hate to see Ike Taylor. He used to introduce himself as Swaggin' all these years. Loved that, but there he is. Cast on his right arm. He and Polamalu coming in the same draft. Look at those guys. They're the most catches in NFL history, and they've matched up against almost all of them through the years.
And Hines, of course, was their teammate,
right.
So they couldn't match up. Almost hard to believe they never played against Chris Carter.
Yeah.
Little quarterback change now. No reason to get Cam Newton beat up anymore.
So Derek Anderson comes into the game to start this drive from the 20. He led him to the victory on opening day against Tampa Bay. Former Cleveland Brown. Olsen makes the catch here. Gain of 9.
Derek Anderson had a nice game in that opener, although Tampa did make a late run in that one, and he had a potential interception dropped that kind of saved the day for him.
Flip it to Tolbert, and he'll get the first down. Don't forget, Anderson's in Cleveland a few years ago. He was good enough to make the Pro Bowl one year.
That's exactly right. Cam Newton, this was not the way it was supposed to go, but I really think that D'Angelo Williams is such a key for this football team. He adds an explosive element, a little quickness to them that they really do need, and without him, they're sort of a different team.
And Tolbert will get undercut. Mike Mitchell. 2 big mistakes for Carolina here in the second half on the 4th and 4, setting up for a field goal. The encroachment and then that led to this touchdown. The double pump. Brown makes the catch in the corner of the end zone. This was the killer right here, Philly Brown. Losing in the end zone. Touchdown Steelers.
And as if the night hasn't been bad enough, down on the field now is Mike Tolbert.
Yep. Well, they've already lost Jonathan Stewart. Now there's Tolbert. D'Angelo Williams is hurt. Fozzie Whitaker is another back. He's inactive tonight. Let's see what happens to Tolbert here. Lands awkwardly on the left ankle and now is able to at least get up and walk off with some assistance.
Wow. This is one of those, sometimes you go back and it's so bad, the coach says, all right, we're just going to throw this tape in the trash can and let's go get ready for the next one.
Well, I hope that man, D'Angelo Williams, can come back and play next week when they go to Baltimore.
This is quite a statement, though, by the Pittsburgh Steelers to come in here and take on Carolina and not just beat them, but really physically manhandle them in this game.
2nd and 9. You saw Darren Reeves, a rookie from Alabama Birmingham, and the pass is off his hand and incomplete. 3rd down.
Now, one of the other things I've noticed tonight is that it looks like the safety combination is starting to figure each other out now. You got Mike Mitchell, who played for the Carolina Panthers in this great defense a year ago, matching up with Troy Polamalu. And, of course, Ryan Clark was there forever. And Polamalu sometimes will just get a feeling, and he has the right in Dick LeBeau's defense to go take a shot. And Ryan Clark, for all those years, sort of was able to cover for him. And tonight, the more you watch it, Mike Mitchell now is starting to get a little feel, and Polamalu is starting to get loose on the front end. Use a NASCAR term.
Going to look under the hood as Burson makes the catch here to pick up the 1st down.
There we go, right there. This is Burson. And Burson is a guy that went to Wofford College, and as did the owner of the Carolina Panthers, Jerry Richardson. Both were receivers there.
Across the border in South Carolina, there is the founder of the team. Wofford alum right there. You know, you look at this team, they've been in the league now 20 seasons. They've been to a Super Bowl. This is a team, they haven't had back-to-back winning seasons.
Clock operator, please set the game clock to 4 minutes and 1 second.
They've had 4 big flashes. They came in as an expansion team in 95. 96, they go to the NFC Championship game. They're 1 game from the Super Bowl. Then John Fox takes them to the Super Bowl in 03. Then in 08, they go to the playoffs, but they lose to Arizona at home, and the Cardinals wind up going to the Super Bowl. And then last year, 12-4. So 4 flashes, but they can't put it together back-to-back. Into the end zone, and that is a touchdown, Kelvin Benjamin. What a catch.
This guy is unbelievable. I mean, he just makes catches like this. The impossible catches, he never drops. Look at this play by Kelvin Benjamin. Just right over the top, and really Blake was right there, had his head turned around, but beautiful throw that time by Derek Anderson. Put a lot of air under that throw.
Perfect. Well, he's a gem.
Puts it all the way in. He has made 2 or 3 catches that you just shake your head and go, he just might be something.
Also had an 8-inch advantage over Blake, so they've been throwing to him 11 times tonight, and that's 8 catches.
Kind of like Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall of Chicago, right? Those big bodies.
They'll go for 2 to try to make it a 2-possession game and make it a 16-point game. Let's see if Anderson can pull this off. And you'd have an onside kick, and well, not going to matter now because Benjamin has it knocked away from him by William Gay. So that keeps it a 3-possession game at 37-19.
Nice job by William Gay, just stripping this ball out. This is the kind of catch Benjamin's been making all night. And Gay just went really strong through his arms and ripped it out of there. talked about some of the catches that Kelvin Benjamin has made. Let's take a look back. Here was opening day against Tampa Bay. This one looked like it had no chance at all and just sort of reached around the defender and made it there. Watch this one. One-hander right on the sideline. Gets that knee down. The ball just sticks in his hand. Of course, also made the big play right there in this game. And won't forget the one he made to win the national championship a year ago.
That is a true first-round draft pick.
Yeah. You know, if you're going to get rid of Steve Smith, you better replace him with somebody who has some potential, and they found him.
That was all part of the master plan. If Smith was going to go, they had to find an ace, and it looks like they got their man. And also Jericho Cotchery, who they picked up from Pittsburgh, who had 10 touchdowns from Roethlisberger. Last year was hurt tonight, so he wasn't in. Avant was hobbled. Running back situation we've detailed. And an onside kick here is not going to take place. Instead, they'll give it to Pittsburgh at the 20-yard line. So Sunday night, week 4, we head down to Texas, where the Saints, off their victory today, will be taking on the Dallas Cowboys, who erased a 21-point deficit. It all starts with football night in America at 7 Eastern time. So Drew Brees back on target. They beat Minnesota. Of course, that tremendous comeback for the Cowboys in St. Louis today.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys, sometimes you wonder how they get it done, and they certainly make it interesting. I think it was a year ago when the Saints put up 40 first downs against that Cowboys defense, but we'll see.
Bruce Gradkowski now comes in, so the backup gets to play for Pittsburgh as well. Came over from Cincinnati a couple of years ago. And Blunt with a hurdle move. Bell's really good at that stuff too, and a gain of 17.
Yeah, speaking of patience, watch LeGarrette Blount's move here. Just patiently right over the top. We have seen that before. Remember when he played in Tampa? There would be multiple times that, because when you're a big back or you're a tight end or whatever, defensive backs want no part of taking you on up high. They get run over, so they want to chop your legs out. So those guys have learned it, and they've started just hurdling.
And that's become a hallmark of Le'Veon Bell as well. Blunt is closing in on 100 yards. Bell already has 147, and that's 97 yards tonight for Blunt. And for Pittsburgh tonight, 245 yards on the ground.
Of course, Antonio Brown, he kind of did that hurdle a little different way, didn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't quite make it.
On a punt return.
I see Ben thought that was funny.
Yeah. Everybody thinks they're Ronaldo Nehemiah these days, right? Or Roger Kingdom.
Skeets, yeah.
Roger Kingdom
with Arizona.
Gold medal in '84.
Yeah.
Now an assistant coach. We talked to him over in Arizona in preseason. Flag is down.
Just lined up offside. You can see it from here.
Ron Torbert, our referee, is a first-year referee in the NFL, making his national TV debut, making sure he gets his face time.
Offside. Defense. Number 94. Lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Running back comparison right there. Bell with that 81-yard romp. Huge play at that point in the game when Carolina had him backed up, and Blunt 3 yards shy of triple figures.
Well, you know, that's how Carolina beats people. They get you in bad situations, backed up, they get turnovers, or they force you to punt the ball, and the Pittsburgh Steelers twice tonight completely turned the tables on them when they were backed up.
And there's Blunt trying to pick up the first down and should have it as we come down to the 2-minute warning.
Tough week for Ron Rivera this week.
Yep, had to handle a lot of stuff. 120 seconds left before the Pittsburgh Steelers fly home with their second win of the season. And there goes Blunt, and he has over 100 yards tonight. LeGarrette Blunt.
Antoine Cason said, "Fool me once," and this time he stood right in there. That almost looked like the Antonio Brown play. Blunt was going to try and get over him. Cason stood right there and almost took the flat-footed kick to the face mask we saw earlier this season from Antonio Brown.
Well, we talked about Hardy. Hopefully next week, for a change, we can open up the telecast, and Michelle will not have to do a report on a rogues gallery.
Oh, I'll tell you, for football fans, I know it's been rough on everybody, but there's no choice now. The NFL has to take the absolute lead. They have to be the standard on that issue from this day forward, because it has been embarrassing. The NFL has been way behind the curve on that issue.
As Art Rooney said, and we mentioned it at the top of the show, the president of the Steelers, anything good comes out of it. It's brought everything into the public consciousness. One more play, one more kneel down, deep safety on this play here. The insurance policy is Polamalu, and that will end the ball game. So Mike Tomlin watches his team come in. Big scoring drought. They'd been outscored 50-9 in the last 6 quarters prior to the game and come away with a resounding win, mainly due to the second half prowess of the running attack, the full game prowess of a defense, 28 second half points